What's good, y'all? Welcome back to my channel, Chrissyy Talks. Y'all can call me Chrissyy, and let's go ahead and talk about it. Tyre Nichols was the youngest of 4, and he adored his mother, whose name he had tattooed on his arm. His mother, who would be one of the last names Tyre would call out as he was being beaten by 5 Memphis police officers on the night of January 7th when he was pulled over for a traffic stop. On January 7th at around 8:30 p.m., police stopped Tyre near the intersection of Rains and Ross Road on suspicion of reckless driving. Police said in their initial statement that a confrontation occurred when they were approaching Tyre's vehicle, which led Tyre to run away, and that another confrontation occurred when they were trying to arrest him. Now, I'm confused as to what the confrontation was. In this body cam footage, it shows that Tyre was getting pulled out of the car while he was yelling that he didn't do anything. It shows that the police were immediately aggressive and they threatened to tase him while he was saying that he was just trying to go home.
You don't do that, okay? Get on the fucking ground! Get on the ground! Okay. I'm tase your ass! Alright, I'm on the ground. Lay down! Yes, sir. Lay down! Please tase on the ground! I think to tase you! Get on the ground! Lay down! One! Down! Taser! Alright, okay, alright.
Break your shit.
Okay, dude, damn!
Turn the fuck around. Put your fucking hands on your back! Bitch, put your hands behind your back!
Okay, stop.
I'm gonna knock your ass the fuck out.
You guys are really doing a lot right now.
Bro, lay down.
I'm just trying to go home.
Lay down.
Now, I believe it was about 30 minutes after this confrontation, ambulance was finally called after Tyre was complaining of a shortness of breath. Tyre was then transported to the nearest local hospital in critical condition. And it leaves you wondering, if I'm just getting pulled over for a traffic stop, how does that lead me to being in a hospital in critical condition? Why does it take so many officers to deal with a traffic stop? This brings up the question of, don't you guys have something else to do? You're in a city where I'm sure other crimes occur. Why does it take 5 police officers, and I believe there was definitely more there, to handle one man in regards to a traffic stop? If you're really that bored, go bust some teenagers. Go wait by the police scanner. Go do something else instead of ganging up on one person for something that is not even considered a felony charge. And let's consider Tyre running away. If this man is running away from you, which we could most likely assume that he was running away out of fear, what threat is he to you? Not only is he running away, but he's running away from 5 police officers that ended up ganging up on him and brutally beating him. So again, who's the real threat when, as far as we know, he wasn't armed, and it's 5 police officers, 5 grown-ass men against 1 person. Unfortunately, 3 days later, on January 10th, Tyre succumbed to his injuries and was later pronounced dead. An autopsy showed that he suffered extensive bleeding caused by a severe beating. A beating that attorneys would later say resembled the 1991 police beating of Rodney King, which would spark many protests across the nation, just like Tyre's death has done. On January 15th, 5 days after Tyre was pronounced dead, the Memphis Police Department announced that they would be conducting an internal administrative investigation. And no, I definitely would not solely trust an internal investigation, especially when you guys have these officers who were capable of doing this beating in the first place. A lot of police officers try to have each other's back. I'm sure throughout history, police officers have helped each other hide crimes that they have done, especially among corrupt police officers. So glad at least the United States Department of Justice chimed in. I feel like in cases such as these, you also have to have the NAACP or some black organization alongside the investigation as well. Because I'm sorry, honey, but a lot of these white folk in power, I do not trust. Police love to say that they are being transparent, but I just don't feel like we can completely trust that. And luckily enough, Tyre's family was actually able to obtain civil rights attorney Ben Crump to represent them. Ben has also represented Michael Brown, Breonna Taylor, and George Floyd. Soon after this, Ben called for police to release body cam footage on what really happened that night. On January 20th, 13 days after the traffic stop and 10 days after Tyre was pronounced dead, the MPD stated that the officers violated police policies such as using excessive force, failing their duty to intervene, and failing their duty to give aid. So they were fired just like that. Now, I do want to make something clear. This is not a race issue. This is a power issue. Let me tell you, when you put the blue uniform on the wrong person, just have the worst personalities, or are the most insecure, or the most power hungry, or are just plain assholes, to be honest. When you put that blue uniform on the wrong person, they feel like they have the power to do anything. They feel like they are untouchable. And honestly, when you follow all these police brutality cases throughout the country, throughout several years, they're not wrong in believing that they have some type of power to do stuff like this and get away with it. Also have to think about it, they did not give a fuck that they had body cams on them. These people are being watched, these people are being recorded, and they still do not give a fuck enough to not do shit like this. That means they're too comfortable, and they're too comfortable for a reason. This is not a racial issue, this is a power issue. But I have to bring up the fact that all this is happening a little bit too quick. 6 days after they were fired, the officers were arrested and charged with second-degree murder amongst other charges charges. And their police chief, Sarah Davis, publicly condemned the officers. But here's what she had to say.
These officers were found to be directly responsible for the physical abuse of Mr. Nichols. Concurrent within that investigation, other MPD officers are still under investigation for department policy violations. Some infractions are less egregious than others. As this investigation and other external investigations continue, I promise full and complete cooperation from the Memphis Police Department with the Department of Justice, the FBI, the Tennessee Bureau of Investigation, and the Shelby County District Attorney's Office to determine the entire scope of facts that contributed to Tyre Nichols' death. This is not just a professional failing. This is a failing of basic humanity toward another individual.
Now, to go back to what I was saying earlier, no, this is not a racial issue. But before people started talking about black on black crime, let's talk about what if they were white officers. And I don't mean to be that person, I really don't, but we have to talk about it because we know for a fact, if these were white officers, we would not have even gotten that footage by now. Because let's talk about Jalen Walker in Akron, Ohio, who was stopped for a traffic and equipment violation and ended up being shot over 90 times. It took way longer than 20 days for us to receive that body cam footage, and Jalen's case is almost similar to this one because again, he was stopped for a traffic violation, and just like Tyre, Jalen ran away from the police. And while he was running away, police say that he turned around and it gave them a reason to feel like they were threatening for their life, which was enough for multiple officers to shoot at Jalen and let off 90 rounds. I believe it was around 60 bullets that hit him. Mind you, the police still handcuffed him after shooting him that many times. And I don't believe the officers had been charged, but I do have a video on that if you guys want to see the whole story. But it's just sad to think that in these cases, you have black men running away from police, and you have police still trying to say that he did this, he did that. He was running away because he was scared for his life. If anyone is a real threat here, it's the multiple officers ganging up on one person that's not necessary. That alone is already a use of excessive force. I really don't want to just turn this into a racial conversation because it's something much more than that, but we do have to consider it because we know that if it was a white officer, they would not be getting thrown to the wolves like this. They would not even have gotten fired. They would have been on paid administrative leave. And they definitely would not have gotten arrested and charged within the same month of when the police brutality occurred. It just wouldn't have happened. So I feel like in this conversation, we definitely have to keep that in mind that, yeah, we can crucify these officers, we can march in the streets and all of that. They deserve it. They deserve life. They deserve more than life in jail. Let's just not forget about the fact that we do have a lot of racist officers wearing these same blue uniforms, and some of them practically get off scot-free. But that's aside the point. I am relieved that these officers have at least gotten arrested and charged, and it's being recognized that they have done something wrong, because it leads to a greater conversation too of, again, it being police just taking the power that they have behind these uniforms a bit too fucking far. And we could always relate this back to the Stanford prison experiment in 1971 when a group of college students or whoever volunteered to do the experiment, half of them was given the police role and the other half was given the prisoner role, and you could see the power dynamic, how much the police really played into their roles and felt like they could just do whatever. So I feel like one thing that they need to do is something that really tests people who want to become a police officer for the right reasons. A process that takes a little bit longer, that involves psychology, that involves training, that involves being human, because honestly I feel like they really do be giving anybody a badge. And like I said, things like this happen when you give it to the wrong people. Now Tyre was tased, pepper sprayed, beaten, kicked in the face, hit with a baton, and so much more. But I don't want to leave this video off with remembering Tyre as another Rodney King, because Tyre was also a 29-year-old father and a FedEx worker who loved skateboarding and taking pictures of the sunset. And actually, on the night of January 7th, he was coming home from a park after taking photos of the sunset. Now, honestly, and I didn't mention this in the beginning of the video, I didn't even watch the full body cam footage yet. I'm going to be writing an article on it this week, and I will be watching a little bit more of it, but I didn't want to include too much. I read someone's status that said that when they lynched black people back in the day, white people would get dressed up for it. They would watch it like it was some type of entertainment. And I feel like them releasing the body cam footage, yes, it's to be transparent. Yes, some of us need to see it. It needs to be seen by some people. But I feel like we shouldn't make black trauma so normalized. It's honestly actually very traumatic. And hearing his screams, I can't, you know what I'm saying? It's just a lot. And I don't feel like we should remember Tyre that way anyway. His mother actually said in a press conference that they figured Tyre would become famous one day, but just not like this. And if I were to leave an image behind in his name, it would be this video of him skateboarding and doing what he loves to do, not of him screaming on body cam footage literally for his life. Like, we're watching this man get beaten to death, you know what I mean? But y'all, that is the end of my video. I'm actually about to go to work in a couple minutes, but I really wanted to, one, upload a video, but two, talk about this, touch upon this, because this is what's happening right now, and honestly more needs to be done about it. Now that is the end of my video. Hope you guys enjoyed. Comment down what you guys think below, especially if you're in Memphis. Comment down what you guys think. Hopefully you guys are safe if you guys are choosing to protest. Follow me on Instagram, add me on Snapchat at Chrissyy Talks, and Chrissyy, 2 S's, 2 I's. I love and appreciate you guys, and I'll see y'all in my next video. Bye guys.
See the God,